welcome back or welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio. It is the final episode of 2021, which is a big deal. But what's a bigger deal is that this is actually the 4-year anniversary episode of the podcast. And that just expands my heart and makes it smile in ways that which I hope you feel throughout this episode, because it's a really big deal. You know, having a podcast, first of all, it's like I always say, like it's a labor of love, and it's my baby. This podcast hasn't even scratched the surface of where it's going to go, my vision for it. But I can say this, you know, it's such a nonstop creative machine, right? You keep going. It's endless. And actually that's one of my favorite parts about it, because it's constantly feeding me inspiration. It's constantly having me, put in real kind of intellectual work, right? I mean, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know, there's some real, thought leaders and massive experts, from neuroscientists to, incredible physicians and authors and, you name it, they've been on this podcast. And it takes a lot of, work to be able to present a conversation with them that will not only be of value to you, but will be respectful to their time, right? And personally, I'm a forever student and a total geek. I love that process. But here's the thing, because it's such a nonstop machine, it can be very easy to not realize just how much work it actually is. I feel it at times, but when I say, and I hear myself say out loud, like, wow, this is a 4-year anniversary, I go, oh, you've been at this for 4 years already. Wow, that's a big deal. And it's something that me and my team are very much celebrating, because even though it is hard work, it's still work, and it's work with, deep purpose and meaning behind it. And, one of the greatest things that this podcast has offered me is you. It's the connection. It's the community that we have cultivated by, launching Black Belt Beauty Radio. So many of you I've connected with, on Instagram, in the DMs, or even just seeing you connect on the story posts and all that. And it means so much to me. It really does. And if you've connected with me there, you know that, I come at you with that gratitude wholeheartedly, because I don't take it lightly. I always say, like in my writing, my, attention is expensive. And so for you to be choosing to invest your expensive attention into the content of this podcast, it means so much to me. And it makes me feel so good to learn, to know, by those of you who connect with me, that it's really serving you, that it's really giving you, your heart, like nuggets of just empowerment and motivation and stretching your mind and doing all this stuff, all the beautiful messages I receive to help fortify you and expand you in your life, to help you live from your fullest potential. That is at the core of this podcast. It's self-actualization, it's self-mastery, and all the pathways at which we need to, kind of move through in order to live a life of self-mastery and actualize our highest and fullest self, right? So I just wanted to start there by kind of setting the tone of this Solosode with deep gratitude for all of you. And, for me to have the courage, and this actually is a great segue into what I want to talk about, to go for it. Because when I had, for those of you who don't know, and I'm just going to share it because, again, it's really going to feed into what I really want to capture in this episode. For those of you who don't know, the larger part of my career life I spent as a beauty expert, a makeup artist in the celebrity realm, right? And it was over 4 years ago. It was almost 5 years ago when the idea of launching a podcast, because I was such a podcast junkie, came to me, right? And it took about 6 months of building a runway, right? Like, and when I say that, I mean, like, it was me getting very clear on, what I wanted my podcast to be about, what kind of guests, long range, short range, and then all the technical stuff. So it took some time. to launch it. But it was such a fuck yes. Like there was no question about, should I do this? It was, you're doing it. And it was exciting building that runway. And then I remember like that last month, I started, my courage was being activated because I started to get nervous, right? I would say like fear is the architect of courage. Well, courage doesn't show up unless fear is there, right? And I was essentially getting nervous because, and this again is going to feed into this episode, I was getting nervous because I was like, oh shit, I'm expanding, I'm evolving myself, and not just internally, but I'm doing it publicly, right? And listen, I'm an artist first and forevermost, and I'm going to read an Instagram post that's centered around that. It's one of my favorite posts I ever put out, and I just put it out recently. But before I became a makeup artist, before I became a self-mastery empowerment coach, before I became a podcast host, even before I became an athlete as a younger kid, well, the first joy, passion, and investment of myself creatively that I applied myself towards was writing. And you're going to hear a lot more about me and my writing in episodes to come and content, because I'm going to be investing a lot more in my writing, which I'll likely talk about a little bit in this episode as well. But I want to focus on this right now, going back to that point where I felt, nervous because I knew that I was publicly announcing, guess what you've known about me so far, because my Instagram is really more professional and, lifestyle based, but what you, being the audience, peers in my industry at the time, what you've known about me, guess what? You're about to learn more about me. You're about to see another version of me, an expanded version of me. And it was poking at my nerves, and I'll never forget the day that I launched the very first episode with my girl, Carla Esparza, as a guest. And I was actually on the phone with one of my very, very, very best friends. And I was like, tell me to do it. And I was just pushing, release like to the first episode. And she's like, do it. And I could literally see myself in the moment. And I did it. And it was so liberating. But it was very, very, and the response was incredible. It was very, very important for me because of this reason. Primary reason number one, which is also what I really want to drive home in this episode. I was being loyal, not just to the artist that I am, but to my most authentic self. Now, if you've been connected to me and my work for some time now, you know that it's a constant part of the conversation with me. Constant. To live a life of true fulfillment, the requirement is you got to operate from your truth. You can't do it any other way. If you're not being true, then how are you going to really live fulfillment? You can't. So, part of this operation of authenticity. So when we think authentic self, core needs, core desires, even just like your curiosities that you want to explore, of course, your goals, your mission, your vision, but it's all of the things that you want to say yes to, all of it, right? And then you choosing to, or at times it's things that you want to say no to. That's very important as well, right? And whatever that is, whether it's the yes or the no, it's you choosing to honor that yes or that no, because it's coming from your most authentic self, right? So when I go back and I was saying how the podcast was an absolute fuck yes, like it wasn't a question, I was choosing to be loyal to my most authentic self. And in that moment, prior to, hitting release and that last month, really, when I found myself like kind of stalling a little bit straight up, this is that point where a lot of people, I believe, will, if they even get to that point, which a lot of times that doesn't even happen, but they'll hold back, and then, they'll be loyal to the fear. It's very important. I'm very intentional about words always, number one, as a writer. But in that, it's because, I say this often, but if it's the first time you're here, words are an experience, right? They're giving you an emotional experience. They're giving whoever you're talking to an emotional experience as well. But even just the focus on the conversation with you and like you hearing these words, it's very important to hear that you're being loyal to you and your most authentic self, or you're being loyal to fear or worry or somebody else's desires or wishes over your own, right? So, here's the thing. I was in a place where I was so ready to express this evolution of mine. However, it's interesting. When I say evolution, it's not necessarily this brand new kind of foreign avenue or interest. No, because, and the funny thing is this, like, the nervousness or discomfort, because it was discomfort when I was going to hit send or release on the episode, was this thought around like, oh my goodness, my peers, like, primarily like in the beauty industry, they're about to see like Roxy's like launching a podcast now. And the funny thing is this is like, so many of them, I would hear in conversations later, but also even if I didn't, I know they would be like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Because if you've been on set with me, that all of these subjects and just, me in general, I'm a communicator, always have been. And so, but the subject matters that, that come on the podcast, like we're talking about health, we're talking about physiology, we're talking about mindset. This is philosophy. This is all stuff that if you're on set with me, we would be engaging in these kind of conversations, while I'm getting you ready. Right. So I know so many of them were like, this makes sense, but I was, having this discomfort around like, oh my goodness, I'm showing this other part of me, but really here's my point about evolution and it not being foreign. It's not me showing this brand new part of me. It was just showing more of who I am. Right. And in this, mode of operation that is now, that's a podcast. So the important piece to really, really pay attention to here is I felt this fuck yes, this desire that came from what I call the queen. She's the queen in my heart, right? And she nudges and she urges, and she urged me and she nudged me. She didn't have to push me, maybe at the end, to launch a podcast, to create a podcast, right? And I listened, and that's listening to my truth. And there was a moment where it was like a bit of a battle, just with my nerves and that discomfort piece. But I stood up to it. I moved towards it. I created forward, something I talk about a lot more lately than ever, because it's not just moving forward, but we're always creating, right? So I just love this idea, this to imprint in your mind of like, don't just move forward, realize that you are creating forward. So how do you want to be creating? It just invites you to be more intentional, right? About what you're doing, your actions, and even how they're looking at things from perspective, your mindset. So, I did it. I honored my authentic self. I honored the artist in me. I honored, this evolution. I mean, I firmly believe that we are here to evolve and to, be so loyal to this constant evolution of self, right? And this now is going to segue me into the Instagram post I just mentioned that I put up recently. That's one of my favorite posts. And it's really, really, it's a powerful one, because I will tell you this right now, kind of drop a hint on something that we'll be talking more about in some future upcoming solosodes. And by the way, for all of you who've given me the feedback of how much you love solosodes, thank you for that. You can look forward to a lot more of them in 2022. I love solosodes. I'm always channeling, when I sit here with you. And yeah, I'm definitely going to invest more of my time to record more solosodes for you. So on that note, if you have topics or things that you would like me to, tease out or, talk about, please always connect with me, Instagram DMs, and I'll make it happen for you. So back to the Instagram post and why this is so, so important. I want to talk about evolution, honoring your authentic self, realizing that you're an artist, and rebelling against the box. Okay. The box in quotations for those of you who are not watching. So I'm going to read it. Okay. The post reads as follows. First of all, the post itself has a picture of me and it says, I am first and forevermost an artist. The caption reads as follows. The rebellion I have raged against my entire life has been in opposition to the box. I have and forever will be irrevocably loyal to the artist in me who authentically expresses herself in a galaxy of ways, never minding who can make sense of it. That is not my duty. My duty is to honor my truth. My truth is here to fiercely create. Creativity is the curator in all that I present to myself and to the external. Always has been and forever will be. One of the most beautiful and powerful aspects of truly knowing who you are is possessing the courage to incessantly create from your truth and nothing but the truth. You cannot be contained. You belong to you. I am first and forevermost an artist. I will evolve and create from my evolution in every which way my heart desires. I obey her above all else. It is her devotion and respect of me I crave most. She is the path I'm here to express myself from. Our bond is unbreakable. If my illuminated path offers your mind and heart a glimmer of hope, strength, inspiration, or permission to rebel against the box and live your authentic self, then understand that we are energetically creating together. What a gift, the kind that you cannot touch, but will touch you forever. Live valiantly, live authentically, destroy the box, live your heart. You're worth it. So let's talk about the box. This box that wants to keep you in some small, super niched out, labeled place. Okay. Which to me is it's the opposition of what we're here to do. We're here to fucking bloom, to literally be in like constant metamorphosis, right? We're not here to just be this one thing, you know? And listen, if it is a case of like where you have been living this one beautiful expression of a career, as an example, in your life, that's fucking awesome. But even in that, I'm sure that you have found so many creative ways to continually, expand that aspect of yourself in your career. Like it's not the stagnant situation. You are always creating. My point is with this post is, well, a couple of things. Number one, when you feel the desire to creatively move in a direction, so your heart is speaking to you, saying, try this, go this way. When you respond to that, number one, you're responding to your most authentic self. And side note, your heart is directly connected to your intuition. So you're also honoring your intuition, and that also fortifies it. And that's important. You want to be very strongly connected to your intuition throughout your life. And that's one of the ways that you can do that, but it's also this, it's important to say this, like, understand that when you ignore those cues, those desires, those wishes, all of that, perhaps, you're kind of leaning more into somebody else's ideas of what your life should be like, or, some kind of fear, like I mentioned to you about, what others will think, all of that stuff. Well, because you're likely afraid of rejection. And that's one of the number one reasons, if not the number one reason why so many people die. It's so sad to say this, but it's true. Die with their ideas, their curiosities that they never explored, their desires that they never tried to just touch, to experience, to actualize, because they were afraid of rejection and the hurt and the discomfort that, comes with that. But it's so important to understand this. There's rejection on either side. You're either getting rejection rejected by them. And it's not always the case, but it can be. Again, this is why so many people like hold off from moving forward in this creative expression, or, curiously, investigating their curiosities that lead them to evolve further. It's either that or you're rejecting yourself. And that's so important to realize. It's very, very dangerous to reject yourself and have that be an ongoing theme in your life, okay? It's insidious. You may not feel it in the beginning, but I will tell you that little pebble in the shoe will grow into a fucking crippling boulder, okay? And this is an example of what that ends up being, is like, these classic stories, and there's so many of them, of people who, go through life and it looks like they have like this super successful, and on the surface, in so many ways, they have succeeded. However, inside they are so empty. They don't know who they are. Well, guess what? You're never going to really know who you are and have full ownership of who you are if you're not operating from the fucking truth of who you are. See what I'm saying? I know it's not easy. I'm never saying that any of this is easy, but I am saying that it's essential if you want to create a path, a life of fulfillment. If you want to, if any of us have the gift of being able to look back on our life at the end of the road, if, personally, like, I think a life of true success is to be able to look back and go, fuck, I've lived my life from my truth. I have lived my life. I faced every battle. I've hurt even. I've failed. I've done all of that, but I always operated from my truth. And there's so many wins that came with that as well. The fear for me would be to look back and go, I didn't live my life. I lived, somebody else's ideas. I lived in fear of rejection. I didn't honor what it is that I truly wanted to do, be, and become, right? Very, very important. And it's so good to like fast forward. Sometimes when you find yourself in a position where you're like, maybe you really want to say no to something and you're saying yes to it, or the reverse, maybe you want to say, yes to something and you're saying no to it because you're afraid or whatever. Well, think about that. If you have the opportunity to look back at this moment, what is going to give you more of a sense of joy and satisfaction? Let that guide your decision. So, in this post that I shared, I just wanted to really drive home this message of don't trap yourself in this box. When you feel like, when your heart is speaking to you, okay? I don't care if it's exploring something that ends up just being a moment. There's an offering there. Your heart is guiding you towards something. Honor it. Even for the sake of just that exercise, that repetition work of listening to your intuition. It's so important and you're worth it. I always say this, and I'm going to keep saying it. You're worth the battle and the victory. Okay? I see so much of, I deserve it. I'm worth it. And it's always about this end result. And I'm like, well, do you feel worthy of the fucking battle on the way there? Because guess what? Whether it's a small challenge or a monstrous challenge, there's going to be a fucking challenge on the way there. It could be a mental challenge. It could be physical. It could be both. It could be financial. It could be all of it. My point is, are you ready? Do you feel worthy of the battle? Because if you don't, then that end result that you feel worthy of, that you deserve, is going to be a haunting, torturous desire, and ultimately a wish. You gotta put that effort into it, like what I call sweat equity, right? Well, how do you do that? Well, you got to feel worthy of it. You got to feel like not only is, am I worth this thing, but, I want to experience who I am in this journey to attainment, actualization. I always say, like, especially as a high performer, when we're looking at something that we want to create, we want to do. And, the minute we get to it, we're already looking at something further. We've already gone bigger, right? For me, yes, I want to, hit the target, actualize the desire, reach the goal, all the above. But what really, 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 really matters to me more than anything is who I am on the way there, who I'm becoming, because you are always becoming. This is why I go back to the piece that I said about creating forward. You're creating, but what are you creating? That's the point here, right? So, there are moments in life I feel that maybe, some of you, many of you, all of you will relate to this, where you can actually just really feel certain segments of your life. You can feel your evolution surfacing, like a big kind of expression, a bigger expression of you is coming out. In my own life, that is happening, okay, right now. And it's so special for so many reasons. And a lot of that I will share in, perhaps I'll make it like the first Solosode of 2022, because it's a big deal for me. But what I can say about it is this: my whole life, I've been a creative, right? I have been, really fortunate to operate in full harmony of my masculine and my feminine energy. Okay. So yes, I'm very edgy. I love the athlete in me, this kind of fucking eye of the tiger, panther, lioness energy that is always within me. But I so love my curves, this like curvy energy, this suppleness, this sensuality in me, where everything I see it, like I literally can see beauty in the most uncommon and common situations, right? And both of those energies have always been in harmony. There's no fight against them. It's a romance. I write this a lot poetically. And because of that, I've been able to express myself in various modes of operation that exude this, masculine energy and this feminine energy just harmonized together, right? And it's very, very, it's a very potent creative energy. It's very, very magnetic. So back to my personal evolution right now, and what I'm really feeling is this: the writer in me, which that is my first love. That is the first real creative expression from my heart that I have been in. It's been for the dominant part of my life. I've been writing. I didn't realize until, several years ago that my writing has been centered in poetry, right? Because I was just writing and I was just expressing who I am, and really like my relationship with myself and my relationship with life, perspective, and all of that, which ends up being very poetic. And it was so special for me, when I really started to realize, like, rocks, because it's all documented. This is one of the things about journaling, which I will certainly be talking about a lot more in upcoming episodes, but the power of it and all that. But, you have this documentation of your life, and there's so much value in that. You want to know who the fuck you are? Start journaling. It's going to be there for you, right? And so in the moment where it was like me really realizing, like, wow, writing has always been a gift to you, and it's so innate and so natural to you, but actually this is a gift that you can leave to the world. And obviously I do a lot of writing on social. My captions are very thick. But that is that's a unique voice of its own, right? And my thought leadership and all that. This other voice, this is the evolution piece. You're going to see a lot more of this now coming from me. And there's so much more I can say, I want to say about it, but I really want to I want to close this Solosode in, a certain way that I have in mind to really leave you feeling empowered and ready to soar into 2022. But what I can say about that final part about my personal evolution, also, I just love sharing myself with you. It helps me connect with you more, is this: I am fucking honoring her. I am honoring her because my heart is saying, girl, it's time. It's time for you to release this expression that you have held to yourself for all your life, but it's time. It's time to empower heartbeats with this expression of you. It's time to inspire heartbeats with this expression of you, and anything else that it does, it's going to be elevating or uplifting. And so I'm ready, and so it's just a beautiful feeling because it's, number one, again, it's honoring my authentic self. It's listening to my highest self, my future self, my intuition. And all of that is me honoring the artist within me, right? So there's a lot of exciting things coming up. Truly, like, my heart just smiles thinking about it, and I can't wait to share all of it with you. But in closing that segment of this podcast, I just want to say again, please, I'm really encouraging you that if you've been thinking about something you want to try, you want to explore, you want to learn more, you want to put yourself out, like, your heart, it's coming from your heart, fucking go. Seek the fight. Face the discomfort that comes with it. I promise you, it's not just about doing the thing. It's about the statement that you're saying to yourself. You're saying, I love you. I honor you. I hear you. I respect you. Let's go. I got you. Right? It's so, I'm telling you, you want more self-confidence? This is the pathway. You got to earn it. Self-confidence is earned, and it's earned in the fucking arena. And self-love, that's why I call her the queen of battle. She puts you in the arena. Okay? And just know that when times get hard, whatever battle you got to face on the way to everything you want, if you're taking the hits, and all, self-love is your corner queen. Okay? She's the one who's going to give you the pep talks. She's going to wipe the sweat. She's going to wipe the tears. She's going to get you back up if you took a fucking hit and you're on your knees. And she's going to help you to continue to create forward into victory or into the next expression, whatever that is. Okay? So you want more self-confidence, employ the queen, self-love, get your ass in the arena, seek the fight, and go for it. Be true to fucking you. Always. Now, I want to leave you with 3 questions. They're very powerful and potent, and I do hope that you journal them out because by now you know how much, I love and value and respect the power of journaling. And really take your time and be honest always. Like, I feel like it's almost pointless for me to have to say that, but just in case, you got to be fucking real. Okay, you're always wanting to be in this kind of mode of being a student, right? I would say like the student lens, because what opposes that is you're being judgmental, and you're not going to learn while you're judging yourself. Judging, obviously, there's a place for it. What I'm talking about is judging. If you don't like what you have to face, by being honest, and you judge yourself for it, well, very good chance you're not going to put forth the effort to make the change in that. So please be a student and answer these questions, with curiosity and with the desire to evolve yourself and expand yourself. So question number 1 is, what do you need to feel more whole in your life right now? What do you need to feel more whole? It's a very, very, very powerful question. We want to feel whole in our lives in as many minutes, seconds, days of our life that we possibly can. And there will always be, moments where we can feel a little bit more fragmented. And that's fine. Like, we're not losing in those moments. It's just understanding that we're always evolving. We're always being challenged in some or many ways. And so it's that question is very anchoring to keep you rooted in you, in your heart, right? So take your time, and then you know what to do when you get the answers. Well, you gotta show up in action, which is the perfect segue into the next question. I want you to ask yourself, how much effort am I worth? And I'm not talking about somebody's effort towards you. I'm talking about the effort that you put into you. How much effort are you worth? It's huge. And then you got to ask yourself, whatever that answer is, let's just say it's like, I'm worth all this effort. I'm okay, cool. So be honest, how's that effort showing up in action as a dominant, like throughout your days, right? I know every day is going to look different. Some days are going to, like, the greatest win is like you getting out of bed. I get that part. But when you zoom out and you evaluate the dominant effort that you're making, is it a match to the answer of how much worth, how worthy you are, that effort? Such a powerful question. Again, no judgment, collect the data, edit accordingly. So the final question, which is really bringing us to full circle on this final episode of the year, is what is your heart urging you to evolve towards right now? Like, what does your heart want you to try, to explore, to launch, all of that? Like, what is it? What is it? And then the follow-up question, and this is like the constant follow-up question, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? The time is now. The time is now. Fuck perfect. I know you've all heard that, but it's true. Okay. I'm always making mistakes, right? Me and my teammates, we laugh at our fucking spelling. Like, we'll throw up a post and it's like, oh, on our reel, like, we literally laugh about it. It's like, fine. It's not gonna fucking stop us. You can't sweat the small shit. At the end of the day, if you're in the arena, if you're doing the work, if you're honoring your heart, your true self, you better fucking honor yourself for that. Because I will tell you that the larger part of society isn't doing that, okay? Isn't. So you are already winning on the way to winning if that is you. So this is now my opportunity to say, with all of my heart, thank you. Thank you for, it doesn't matter if this is your very first episode. I hope you subscribe and you stay connected and reach out to me on Instagram so we can really forge a connection. Or if you've been, an OG from the beginning, fuck, I love you. And I so appreciate you and my team, my incredible team that I love so much. Oh my goodness, women in full integrity. We're all so grateful. And we're just on this continued mission to take this podcast to the next level and the next level. And I promise you, that is exactly what will continue to happen, from the caliber of guests and the content to just the overall reach of this podcast. I'm unrelenting and I know what my vision is, and I'm not going to stop, not even when I get there. The vision will be expanded. So thank you, because I want you to know, I said this in the post, but like, we're energetically creating together, by you gaining something from any part of me showing up as my authentic self and creating from my heart, and it giving you something, and then that trickling into your life. Well, we're creating together, and that is a gift, right? So I hope, final words, I really, really hope that you leave this year loving yourself for everything that you have put forth, all of your efforts. Make time to celebrate yourself. It's so important. Also, note to self for me, because high perform over here could like easily just be like mission mode constantly, but it is so important to take that time to really honor yourself, because you're showing up every day. Now, if you could show up better and better, I mean, great, fucking do it. Like, what else are we doing if we're not aiming for better? But just showing up in integrity every day and driving yourself from your most authentic self towards everything that you want to experience in your life is such a power move, it is such a powerful expression of a human. So I'm honoring you. So thank you with all of my heart again. And there's so much to look forward to. And again, there will be many, many more Solosodes coming out in 2022. And I mentioned it in the middle of this episode, but please do reach out to me, Roxy Look or Black Belt Beauty. Roxy Look is my personal account, and I'm more active on the DMs there. Heads up. There's Queen Warriors as well, but Roxy Look is going to be the place that if you want to suggest a podcast episode topic for Solosode, or even guests, anything like that, just reach out to me, connect with me. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Yeah, I'm very grateful. So sending you so much love. Happy fucking New Year. I know times are weird right now in the world, but remember that everything starts from within. That is the one place that you have control of. So let's, and this is centered in self-mastery. Let's aim to be our most empowered, autonomous self, right? The box doesn't rule you. Nobody fucking rules you. You rule you, okay? And whatever that you is, our mission here together as a team is to expand it authentically into the fullest expression of itself. Okay. I mean, yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I will see you all next year.